We have the Tee It Up Indoors on Battleground 2310 Battleground at the Davis Troxler Golf Area. Football in Focus, name of the show. We got Bryan Roche with us again for the news and record. We've also got several golfers today playing Pebble Beach, so we're just a few feet, not a few miles, a few feet from Pebble Beach Golf Course as the guys play here today. It's a great day to be watching some golf. Great to be talking some football about Football in Focus. Just focusing about these running backs last week. You had 316 yards. This kid at Avery out of High Point Andrews, he had 316 yards. He had 227 for Fabian Diggs out of Ragsdale, 211 for Mitchell Summers out of Grimsley. Just a great week for those running backs last week, I thought. They all did well.
Yeah, that's
the week of maybe the year of the running back. Yeah.
We've got a bunch of running backs that are piling up the yards this year. You're not wrong about that, and you know, we've got
Jalen Moore too from over at High Point Christian Academy at the top, I think.
Yeah, he'll be the leading guy to watch. The only game for our area on Friday, so if you haven't seen Jalen Moore, I guess tomorrow might be your best chance. They do play at home in that.
And help us out. Who are they playing?
They play Trinity Christian.
Trinity Christian's 9-1, I think.
You know, and so High Point is the 2 seed in the bracket there, and so we'll see what happens. I haven't seen Trinity play myself, but see what happens.
What's it going to be like? I'm just kind of prying, kind of digging for information. Are you going to go to that game? Will you be at that one?
Actually, unfortunately,
other stuff going on.
Yeah.
Should be interesting, like you said. I guess they're playing at the High Point Athletic Complex. Are they playing at Simeon Stadium or this is the Athletic Complex?
They do not play at Simeon. They play at the field that's adjacent to it, right near. That's their home field. While Andrews and High Point Central get the large stadium there. I've talked to some people in the area. It's kind of ironic, but they may have the smallest stadium, but High Point Christian might be they are the best team in High Point, in my opinion.
And I tell you one thing, looking good. Yeah, 10-0, hard to beat that. And you look at all these teams getting close to the playoffs, all these games going on. And another couple guys, before we leave the session here about High Point Christian, you got the kid, Toot Clay, very good receiver. Got Darius Gibson, a good running back too also. Well with Jalen Moore, you got Tyler Ely, the quarterback. Got a good core group of players over there, good core.
Yeah, they do. D2 Gibson, he actually just announced that he's planning to transfer to Thomasville, actually, but
before the season's over.
But he's been a key cog on that team. Also, Josh Smith, a great outside linebacker for them. He's got an offer from Miami, Ohio. Gavin Harris, he's committed to Bowling Green. He's a defensive back who actually originally came over from Southwest Guilford a couple years ago. Last year, he set the High Point Christian record with 4 defensive touchdowns and has been good again this year. So, yeah, you mentioned a good core over there. Obviously, Jalen Moore, before the season started, he was actually at East Forsyth. He practiced with East Forsyth. He actually played in the scrimmage for East Forsyth against Grimsley before the season started.
Go back to Cincinnati, he looked against Grimsley and check his tape out there. Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting how, you know, I think High Point Christian would have been a good football team anyway, but it's just kind of interesting how he dropped on them. He actually did not play in their first game, so his stats actually are, yeah, if he actually played in that first game, so he basically missed a game because, you know, he wasn't there yet. So, yeah, kind of interesting how that unfolded.
All right, Merry Christmas in August for those guys. Get him over there
a little bit.
Well, let's go back to last week over at Jamison Stadium. You know, for the Grimsley Northern Guilford games, I saw some video on that. It was actually a Northern Guilford highlight video. It still looked like they were staying in that game early, and maybe through about the first half at least, Northern Guilford's in that game playing well. And I think later on, Jackson Kemp broke his collarbone, I heard.
Injured his shoulder.
Yeah.
Had to get us. I haven't gotten a specific. I was told he's out for the year. Unfortunately, I didn't get a specific diagnosis. If you've heard, you know, a specific diagnosis, either way, that's unfortunate for Jackson Kemp and Northern Guilford. The kind of season they've had and the kind of season that quarterback had.
Who took over at quarterback? Willoughby, maybe?
And Willoughby did step in a little bit. He played briefly. Now, Kemp actually got hurt twice in that game. The second time was in the last drive, so they didn't actually
He nearly
replace him
finished
the
the
next
game,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
They got another guy too. I love this guy's name. He's also a backup quarterback. Knox Amsterdam. I like that dude's name. That's a good name, Mr. Amsterdam.
Did not see him against Grimsley,
Yeah,
but
get in there.
um,
Now Northern got in, then they played fairly well, didn't they, for a long part of the game?
but I would say this: they hung tough definitely through the first half. It was about, I'd have to check the exact time, but midway through the third quarter, I believe about 7 minutes left. Brandon threw one over the middle to DJ Howerton, who took it for 65 yards to make it 21-7, and that's kind of when Grimsley pulled away. Northern did have a touchdown pass later from
Northern
when
scoring
Kemp
through
was
the
still
air
playing.
or on the ground? Do you remember? On the ground or through the air?
Both there, both there.
Both there, okay, both
there.
passes,
Yeah, both
okay.
passes, yeah.
Did Reggie King get a pass? Council probably got one, I'm sure.
Council had a bigger game of the two,
yeah.
and actually Morrison caught the 2 touchdowns.
He caught them both?
Wow. So Reggie actually didn't have as big of a game,
kept
being
him short.
honest with you.
Yeah.
But Morrison caught both touchdown passes, and Council, I would say those were the 2 guys, and they also, they showed some things through that hurry up a little bit. I kind of wish they did it in more of a dosage, to be honest, because I thought they were effective in it. But overall, they did hang with Grimsley, in my mind, for about 2.5 quarters there. They did have a couple kind of self-inflicted wounds that cost them in that game, or at least hurt their chances. To start off with, on the first drive, they had a drop on a punt play. The ball was dropped by the punter, and then Grimsley got the ball at the 9-yard line, scored on the next play. On another drive, the game was kind of already tilted toward Grimsley's side at this point, but on another drive, the punter fielded it and pretty much accidentally had his knee on the ground. So Grimsley took over on that drive on the 2-yard line.
2 and a 9 both.
And they scored on the next play on that one too. So those are 2 touchdowns right there that
Almost call those a couple of gimmies in some ways.
we're kind of.
Yeah.
When you give a team like Grimsley that good a field position, and Grimsley also had a touchdown pass to Kosey Barnes.
He was a
normally
backup, right?
normally a defensive back. He is a starting defensive back on that team, but not normally a receiver. But they had their 2 leading receivers out, Hudson Cooper and Caden Cato. Both were out with injury.
Pretty big to win like they did, both those guys out too. Because Hudson Cooper was here last week, plus Howerton was here last week too, caught the touchdown pass. So Grimsley well represented, doing a good job and still winning 10-0. Now we talk about some other stuff too. We've got potential of these teams, I think, headed toward the playoffs possibly. Looking at Grimsley, they're in. Dudley, they're in. They won the conference. We've got Northern Guilford, Northwest, Southeast, Eastern Guilford, Northeast, and then maybe a wild card team. You see all those teams toward the end there. We definitely feel like Southeast, because they beat Page, they'll get in. Eastern Guilford, they should get in 3rd team in that conference. And then Northeast is the 4th team in that conference. They should get in too, I guess. They would be the 3rd team. Eastern would be the 2nd team. So those teams should all be getting in. You feel pretty good about those guys. Anybody else you see on the old saying the East Coast periphery on the outside looking in, possibly to get in?
Well, I think we both think the same in terms of the first few that we believe will get in. I agree with you. I think obviously the conference winners are guaranteed. I agree with you in terms of, the runner-up teams. Northern, Eastern, Northwest should be in. Can't remember if you mentioned Northwest or not.
Yeah, I did mention
Northwest, I believe, is in. Also from the Metro 4A, I believe Southeast is in based on quality wins at the end of the year. They did beat Western, and they beat Page head-to-head. So I think those will carry weight. So I think Southeast is in. And I think after that, I think Page, I think that Page gets in.
Page gets in the playoffs?
I think they get in because of strength of schedule.
3-7 record.
I think they get in because of strength of
They came up with a rule
schedule.
one time. They probably bypassed this rule because they bypassed a lot of things by now. But they had the rule one time. You had to be 5-5, at least win half your games to get in. But I'm sure that rule's probably by the wayside by now.
So they're the borderline team that I think gets the benefit of the doubt here because
I taught that kid from Page, the
they
father,
did.
yes, he said, we're going to Charlotte. I said, okay, but I didn't think they'd be going at 3-7. I really didn't. That's interesting.
I think that they get the edge.
So Western Guilford's 4-6, but they lost. They beat Page. Western beat Page, right? Yeah. So Page gets
Page beat Western.
Yeah, Page beat Western. That's right by 1 point, right? 28-27.
Page beat Western on a very close game, but they did.
It could be a difference maker, 3-7.
So.
And also, do you think there are some teams practicing this week? Maybe I'm just wondering about this. You may have heard some scuttlebutt. You may have thought about this in the past. You've heard about these things going on. Are some teams practicing this week, thinking we're not sure if we're getting in? We got to keep practicing anyway. Are we still practicing? We don't even know if we're going to get in or not.
Yeah, I mean they don't know, I guess. So as far as I know, I haven't heard of a team that's, I guess, giving it up or whatever. I mean, I guess I can't say that for sure without going to every practice.
But you feel like that, yeah.
But from what I haven't heard of anyone that's just given up yet.
So the old Monday, you hadn't turned all the equipment in. It used to be Monday after the
which
last
is
game.
kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's a little strange.
I got to be feeling Southwest has turned it in. They probably turned it because they won that one game. They got to turn the equipment in.
I think it was definitely a tough season for Southwest, and
I wonder if Western is still practicing at 4-6, and I wonder if Ragsdale's still practicing at 4-6 because Ragsdale beat Western that last game, which was a shootout. Look like
it is kind of interesting. I did talk to some people from Ragsdale, and they still have hope. Now, the reason why I give Page the advantage over them in terms of the playoffs is because, number one, they beat them head-to-head, and it wasn't close. Now, I know the RPI doesn't measure out, decisiveness of victory or point margin or anything like that, but Page did beat them head-to-head, and my impression was that they were a better football team this year when they played against each other. I know that was just one game, one night, but I think the body of work and I think the strength of schedule for Page is going to help them come committee time.
It's going to be interesting. Page at 3-7, Ragsdale's 4-6, Western's 4-6, but Page beat both of them. It's going to be interesting come Saturday afternoon when the things come out. And they're going to be hitting that thing probably midnight, or actually as soon as the games in the West are finished, they're probably up all night looking those numbers over at the State Association, you would think. Guys from Southern Guilford are here. Southern Guilford in the house.
So yeah, that is my bold prediction of the night, I guess, is that I think Page will get in.
You got it right there. Mark it down. You heard it here first on Tee It Up Indoors with the Football and Focus Show, at Tee It Up Indoors on the Football and Focus Show with Bryan Roche, News and Record, and he says Page will be in with 3-7. And as far as I know, Page is still practicing this week, we think. They're still out there working out right now.
I mean, I can't confirm that for certain.
That's the feeling you got, though. That's your feeling.
But I think that they're in based on the strength of schedule. They played a very difficult non-conference slate. They played Dudley. They played Reedsville. They played Mount Tabor. Those are three teams that are quality opponents.
This would be a wild topic on a website about ours, and I put out if they got in, and other guys didn't get it 4-6. Should Page have gotten in? Just start a little scuttlebutt. That could really be an interesting topic of discussion after all this comes about. Because there's not, I think there's probably some underlying talk about this week. It hasn't really come out about much yet until you made this bold statement here this evening. I like it. I like it.
I think so. I think I would say in terms of the conference, I would favor Page over Ragsdale.
And over Western,
and over Western, based on head-to-head and based on strength of schedule.
What about our guys from Southern Guilford? Do you think they get in? They're 4-6. They're 4-6, and they actually finished, from what I understand, maybe fourth in that conference. They were there with Rockingham County. Both those teams around fourth. So you think Southern Guilford gets in?
Man, that's an interesting discussion there. I would say my gut tells me right now at 4, I don't think so. It's going to be close, but I'm not sure that they do, just because I feel like from what I've heard, the Mid-State 3A has not gotten a favorable assessment in terms of the schedule. Mm-hmm. I've even heard that Dudley is going to have the same situation that they did last year, where they are not going to be a top, in the top couple in terms of seeding. Mm-hmm. And so when they do get to that regional final, they are going to have to go on the road based on what I've heard. Now, we don't know for sure, but based on what I've gathered, it sounds like Dudley is not going to be a top 1 or 2 seed.
Last week, it was a big test, too, in that Friday night action because Hickory only beat States for like maybe 18-17 last week. Real close ball game.
And
I was surprised that Hickory had that close of a contest because they're pretty strong, as we well know by now already. It's going to be interesting, real interesting. I like this. So who are we leaving out right now? We're leaving out Western, Ragsdale, Southern. What about Rockingham County? They don't get any of them probably
well,
because of that 4th spot.
Well, that's kind of an interesting
discussion.
discussion.
They might be tied for the 4th spot with Southern because it's first place is Dudley, second place Eastern, third place Northeast, and probably Southern and Rockingham County either tied or one guy's got the edge there, which is interesting.
Well, remember also, keep in mind that Atkins is also in that conference.
And Atkins they beat Rockingham County 27-0, but they did Southern beat Atkins, I think 26-21.
In a close one, yeah.
It makes a wild flip there.
So that might give Southern Guilford the edge.
Wild flip.
So we could be talking about Southern squeaking in possibly.
Yeah.
Rockingham, in my mind, to start the season, they did not play a tough schedule even before the conference started. And so I think that kind of hurts the Rockingham resume. Southern, I think, played a tougher slate in the non-conference. So I think based on that, I would probably give Southern the edge over Rockingham from a head-to-head standpoint.
It's going to be interesting come Saturday afternoon. All these plus interest to the preliminaries come out. I hope they come out with enough space between the two, so we'll film the preliminaries first.
Rockingham did beat Southern, though, so
that's interesting too.
I tell you what, that kind of
between Southern, Atkins, and Rockingham County, very interesting.
So that kind of swirls your head a little bit. I think Southern's body of work might be better, but Rockingham did beat them.
And
so
head to head, it's almost a flip.
That's a little bit of a weird dynamic there. So I don't know.
Who was the conference commissioner for that conference?
Rockingham did have to play Reedsville early on, so I don't know if that might help out their schedule a little bit. So, boy. So I guess in terms of that conference, I got to say the guarantees are Dudley, Eastern, and Northeast. I got to tell you, that 4th spot, I don't think there's a guarantee that a 4th team gets in.
Yeah.
It's going to be close.
I'll be among those 3 teams, Atkins, Southern, Guilford, Rockingham County, for sure.
I think it's going to be close. What do you think,
about,
Andy?
It would be very close. I lean toward Southern mostly. I lean toward Southern Guilford because those other guys aren't in our county, but I like Coach Robertson's a great guy. I talk to him almost every week about JV games, so hope he does well. But they finished slow. I think they finished weak. Rockingham County didn't finish strong. I think Southern finished strong. And plus Southern, if you ask me, could well be the most improved team in the county this past season. They only had like maybe 1 win the year before or no wins. I'm trying to figure out, did they have 1 win or did they have no wins the year before? Because they had High Point Central in the schedule. I'm thinking they had to have beaten High Point Central the year before, I would think. Or they might have lost them and had no wins. And this year, 4 wins for Southern. That's a big jump.
They did have a pretty significant improvement from last year under Coach Mills and staff. Coach Battle, offensive coordinator, we know at Northwest, and Coach Rayner, who was the head coach at Northeast,
I like having a guy like that on my
is the
staff.
defensive coordinator. And so I think in terms of constructing that staff, I really think they did a good job of putting in some quality assistants in for Mills, and so that team definitely did take some improvement. There's no doubt about that.
Much improved. Might be the most improved team in the county as far as win totals from the previous. Because Western had 2 wins the year before, got 4 this year. Western may have well been with us this week if they could have got that win against Rags.
Southern was 0-10 last year.
This is perfect. It's perfect. This shows those are the Southern guys. They're here, so they're here. Interesting story. Nobody knew this before tonight. Until, maybe they didn't know it. I think the coach knew it. They had no wins the year before, 4 wins this year. So, well, you and I talk about this on the phone a lot. These most improved, these teams that come the furthest.
Yeah, the turnarounds. I mean,
what a turnaround!
Northern Guilford went from 4-6 to 9-1. So I mean, they're kind of a nominee. They may not have had to build from as much though, because
no wins the year before. We got 4 wins this year. Crazy.
Southern had a bunch of freshmen out there, a coaching change. So.
And this one kid, Travis Covington, I looked over his numbers today from the game against Central, that last game they played. They won 64-6, something like that, or 66. Yeah, 64-6. 66-4 is not a very comparable number, but 66 or 64-6. Just think about old Covington though. He played quarterback some. He was receiver and running back and defensive player. That's pretty good stuff. Getting to kind of work like that.
He does a little bit of everything for that strong
Bryan
team.
Graham guy, I think he had like 13 tackles in the game. Plus he had a reception for 55 yards for a touchdown. They got guys going both ways, double duty, and really performing quite well on both sides of the ball.
They do have one of the smallest enrollment sizes in terms of the conference. They've got, I remember checking the numbers at some point. They have like just over 1,000 kids in their enrollment. So they are on the smaller end of 3A for that conference. So, so they may have to be a program that just has to do that a little more.
New realignment should be fun for them too, to see where they end up with the new realignment, because I think they should be probably in the Northeast, possibly other Guilford County schools. I'm not sure who they will be with.
I believe Southern was a 4A projection. I got to confirm that.
Yeah, but that's the new system. We got about 8 A's, right?
I think they were 4 or 5A, I believe. I got to check that. I got to confirm that.
Ooh, those A's are going to be crazy. See more A's on that list than I had on my report card over 3 years. I didn't get that many over the 3-year period in school, but I did good the last year. I did
There
good.
you go.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I took chorus, which was really perfect because that was an automatic A. Got that done, no problem there. So we got a lot going on, man. It is interesting. This is going to be so good Saturday, trying to find out who's going to get in. And we also got to find out, too, who's still practicing. Like I saw that guy at the store, convenience store, Sheets, saw Mr. Sandoval, Daniel Sandoval yesterday. I said, how'd the season go? I know you guys probably finished up. Said, we're still playing. You're still playing? Really? That's news to me. We're heading to Charlotte. I said, well. And they could well be. With the 3-7 record in the playoffs, you probably brought them to Charlotte.
I know it sounds strange, but I really think with that strength of schedule, that's my prediction, is that Page still gets in.
They could be going to Mallard Creek. They could be going to Huff. They could be going to Weddington. They could be going to Independence. Could be going that direction. But the thing about it is, like Southern Guilford, no wins year before now.
Maybe they'll play Grimsley. I don't know.
I could see one game, though. That's
They
interesting.
play Grimsley.
Well, again, wow, wouldn't that be crazy?
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, my gosh. But I could see possibly, I don't know, maybe Eastern Guilford versus Dudley again, because they were supposed to play in the second round last year. They could play in the first round. You never know.
That was interesting. That did, and I got to admit, I think Eastern, I hate to say it, but part of me thinks that they were looking ahead in a good old trap game when they played Central Davidson last year.
Right, yeah, so much.
And I got to admit, I think that they were coming off that game, and I got to think that they were envisioning playing Dudley again, and well, it didn't happen.
They brought
that
their
way.
whack-a-mole sticks out to the game. Like those whack-a-mole pops and popped out that little clump of people.
Yeah.
You got to stack the box against that bunch and just tackle everything in sight.
That was probably the biggest playoff upset out of all the area teams that I
Crazy.
recall.
Drove me crazy. It was crazy because like everybody else, I was anticipating that round 2 matchup between Dudley and Eastern Guilford at Dudley, a rematch in the regular season. Expecting that. Should be fun. And it could be.
I mean, I was kind of scheduling myself to go there, to be honest.
And I'm thinking maybe by round 2, we could see something even like a Northern Guilford, Northwest Guilford matchup again. There's possibilities.
It could
in round
happen.
2. Yeah, it's good.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, you never know. It's possible to have a conference.
Because the whole system a couple years ago was designed. When they redo the playoff scheme so often, but they said we're going to put this thing so it's better suited geographically. We'll get these teams close together to play early in the playoffs. That's travel so far, but I don't know how long that lasted either. It's just been so crazy.
Well, it's kind of interesting. When I was growing up playing in the state of Florida, what they did is to get into the playoffs, you had to be the champion of they called them districts, but districts synonymous with conferences here. You had to be either first or second in your district, and how they did it would start off geographically from a bracket standpoint, and the number 1 would play the number 2 from this district, and the 2 from that one would play the 1 of the other, and in the second round, the winner of those games would play. So it was actually pretty common to get a rematch in the second round if one of the districts was a strong district. And actually, when I was in high school, we actually lost to a team to finish second in the district, but we beat them in the playoff game at their place in the rematch.
Wow, so you got the rematch.
And the way it kind of worked is they didn't divide them up into regions necessarily like they do with North Carolina, but the way it happened was similar because it would pretty much always be a person or a team from the northern part of the state versus a team from the southern part of the state. And so it was common for a team from, let's say, Jacksonville to play a team from Miami in the state championship game.
Well, one year I went down to, with Eastern Guilford, we went to, I think it was week number 3, we went to Clayton, which is down below Raleigh. Pretty good haul. But then the next week we had the big haul. We went from Clayton all the way to Wilmington. That was really a big haul.
Going
From here
down to the
Wilmington.
beach,
Oh
I
man, yeah. And you get down there. I got it all, man. I got it all together. I got it all planned. I know where I'm going.
There's worse places to go.
But you get down to New Hanover High School. We drive to high school. Where's the ball game? We don't play at the school. We play at the city field way down there. Oh man, we got there plenty of time. We got a Legion Field where all the schools in that town play at that one turf field. So
Yep.
had to go find that. We did, but that was kind of crazy. Well, can we get a guarantee out of you? You're guaranteeing this page is in the playoffs. One more guarantee from you. One more guarantee from you. Can we?
Apart from the obvious, or?
This is gonna be.
I'm gonna say my one bold prediction of the night is that Paige gets in, and man, I got to. You want another one out of me?
I want to get this. I want to get this one from you. I'm gonna put this in line. Can you guarantee this? You will be here next Thursday.
I can be here next Thursday at Teed Up Indoors.
Got it. That's what we're looking for. The main thing, because they got the main man with the main plan. He's done a great job. Wants to do it again. Good to see you as always.
Always, Mr. Durham.
You did a super job, man. You broke that down, and you snuck in the page information, which is very good. Plus, Southern Guilford people are here. Let's make way for them next.
There you go, and we'll see if the storm that could be on that outside looking in, but we'll see what happens. It'll be close, I think.
Saturday. Man.
Always a pleasure, Mr.